Hi guys, this is Kev from 7. www.gofundme.com/SEVYN. Today is Monday, November 12th. Today we're going to speak about personas, right? Before we do though, I need to reaffirm about myself that I am exceedingly rare, beautiful, and precious, okay? And that goes to say whether you're defining me in terms of like me as in Kev, me as in the persona that I represent myself by, or me as in my innermost being, my soul. Okay? Now, a persona, for those of you who are not aware, is basically the identity with which we present ourselves to the outside reality and all other people. And to some degree, even our own subconscious mind when we look at our own reflection. This is the persona that I've chosen to present myself by over the years, and it's not been like a sudden decision. It's not been like something, really rash or irrational. It's actually been something that's been a long process in motion since the time I was a late teenager, really. I have been through hell to preserve this persona. And this persona is the persona of basically a ninja, okay? A shinobi, the ancient ninja in feudal Japan. Their era lasted very strongly. Their golden era lasted at least, I'm gonna go so far as to conjecture 1,000 years. And none of us really know that for certain because none of us were really there. And there's even some speculation as to whether or not the ancient ninja actually even really existed. However, let's continue this conversation under the, the presumption that they did, in fact, exist. I believe they did. That's just a matter of my belief. I can't prove it. Neither can you. Neither can anybody else. The ancient ninja used their art in a time of violent political turmoil to ensure their survival. In other words, they underwent processes of training that allowed them to be secretive, allowed them to, survive during a time that they were being oppressed, okay? The ninja, unbeknownst to most people, were actually samurai. And the samurai had a very strong reputation, as many people are aware of. They were considered warriors of honor that worked for the emperor and the government, but sometimes they were called to do things that were considered, in the public eye anyway, reputably as being less than noble. And for that, they had to conceal their identity, very similarly to how I'm doing right now. And for that reason, ninja also have the flippant, the reputation that society has flippantly put on them anyway, as being dishonorable, which is not true. They did do things that would be considered dishonorable, but that's all prone to speculation and everything. Right now, I feel very strongly that we are in a time of our modern day time is comparable, at least in the United States, to some of that violent political turmoil. Now, these days we don't necessarily go around killing each other, but we do everything but. We throw each other in jail, in prison, we make up stories, we lie to the cops on the phone, tell them that such and such other person did such and such thing so that we can get them in trouble and use it as a vengeful tool to try and get each other incarcerated. It's happened to me a whole bunch of times for things I didn't do. I know it's happened to other people. I've spoken to a whole lot of people who are incarcerated who have been framed as well for crimes they did not commit. Wrongful incarceration is what this is called. Even furthermore, cops don't always do their job right because we're human, okay? Not all cops, but some cops don't do their jobs right because they're human and they end up making mistakes, or worse, I think what's at the source of this is actually ego. Okay, when you have too much ego, when your ego is inflamed and you're insistent on being right, That right there makes it so that you are motivated by your desire to be right, so that then you will cross boundaries and allow yourself to corrupt yourself in order to get an end product done that you want to see done. So this happens in society, and the source of this is ego, okay? Many millennia have passed in which we have oppressed each other through religious means, political means, etc. And in our political persuasion, all that politics is a system of ideals, loosely based on religion, which is also a system of ideals, where it basically is society beckoning to bureaucracy to fix problems. And there's a whole mess of interfering factors that make it so that in the practice of it, even though in theory it should work, it does not work. Oftentimes it's just the desire for better treatment and status, which is a byproduct of the inflamed ego, okay? Everybody wants to be treated well. Everybody wants to have comfort, wants to have luxury, wants to have, delicious food, a safe and very warm, comfortable place to sleep in at night, people who love them, people who they're surrounded by, who they can love in return. Everybody wants it, and there's nothing wrong with those things in and of themselves, but when your desire becomes solely for those factors in and of themselves, and you're willing to cross other boundaries, then that's oftentimes a really big warning signal that you are in fact allowing your ego to dominate the higher purpose of your existence. The higher purpose of your existence can go into a whole myriad of things, and that's a discussion we're not going to get into right now. Basically, personas are oftentimes oppressed because an individual, the person who represents that identity, such as myself, okay? I represent myself as a ninja. I truly believe that I am a ninja. Okay, I embody that spirit, that fighting spirit, that mentality. I will survive this. I will endure. That's what to be ninja means. It doesn't mean shadow warrior per se, although we do, as ninja, shinobi, use, secretive methods in order to ensure our survival. What ninja actually means is one who endures, okay? I endure at all costs. I will survive. That's my mentality. That's where I've gone through painful lesson after painful lesson after painful lesson in order to make sure that that happens. Because I've had so many violent circumstances thrown against me, pitted against me from other egotistical people, at least in my case, many people who are egotistical, that it has literally been incredibly difficult for me to survive. And I've had to undergo these methods in order to survive. Now, it wasn't even in my conscious mind to be a ninja, okay? This isn't necessarily something that was like a lifelong pursuit for me. It's something that came upon me. I have always wanted, since my early teen years, and to this day, still, to be a performing musician, a rock star, a metal star, in fact. I play heavy metal on the drum set, and I'm a vocalist. I'm a composer, and I write music for electric guitar and electric bass guitar. In the pursuit of trying to make that happen, and this seems like an impossible dream to a lot of people in society, the pursuit of making this all happen, I've been knocked down, twisted around, wrongfully incarcerated, had a whole bunch of people betray me, even the people who are closest to me, my blood relatives, okay? And as a result, I found that this is necessary. Now, I also mentioned earlier on in this video that adopting this persona has been a long time coming since my late teen years. And that's true. I just didn't realize why or where it was coming from. And it's been all a byproduct of my intuition, really. As a result of that, it's slowly intensified over the years. And I've begun to consciously become aware, as time has gone on, of why I am doing this. It's because it's necessary to survive in today's violent societal times. There's societally violent turmoil going on right now. And we're oppressing each other, like I said, you know, by making up stories, by calling the cops, by seeing what we can get away with. You know, we talk about justice as if we really know what justice is, but the fact of the matter is that society is way out of lines, way out of balance with what justice truly is. So we really can't speak about justice in any way, rightfully, and say like, oh, well, you know, this is what justice is. Justice is standing for the man. Justice is standing for the system. No, it's not. And it's not working for you if you're being honest with yourself. It's not working for me. It's only working for the guys who are in charge because they're using everybody else to get, you know, their system or their status heightened, their privileges heightened, more comfort, more delicious food, better ways of, you know, taking care of themselves, their luxury cars, people admiring them, people respecting them, their reputation. That's all being boosted, and only for those people who are in charge. It is a system of slavery, in other words. So I'm in rebellion from that. I think that you should be too, because it's not right. If we're going to talk about justice for a second, we should talk about the grand scope of cosmic justice as well. Everything that happens in life happens for a reason. Okay? Every amount of suffering that I have presented has turned me into this persona, what I'm representing myself as, in order that I may survive. It is, in other words, better prepared me to handle what is, you know, what is going to happen within my future, what I'm developing, I'm maturing as an individual, okay? So cosmic justice is one thing, but another thing is that, like, we as human beings are talking about right and wrong when we really don't have the slightest inkling of what we're really doing in practice. In theory, maybe. We think we know what we're talking about, but we really don't, okay? Personas have long been oppressed. This is the way that the ego can rationalize and understand what it is that it itself is trying to understand. So, take me for example. I am a bit of a freak, okay? And people look at me while I walk by them in this public city setting, as you can see. Okay, walking down the sidewalk, and they're like, what the fuck is that? It tickles me, really. I don't do it for shits and giggles, though. You know, I do it because I honestly feel that this is who I am. For me, it's an expression that helps fight my depression, and it also helps me in many other ways to survive, okay? We're not talking about, like, you know, necessarily doing things that are underhanded, but I have gone through hell to try to preserve this persona, and part of the reason for that is because personas have been oppressed. Now, the ancient samurai, and inclusive to that, the ancient ninja, were themselves oppressed in 1876, when in feudal Japan, undergoing the westernization so it could catch up with the rest of the world's militaries, actually outlawed wearing swords in public. And the samurai, being quote-unquote honorable, they actually followed the emperor's commands, his edicts, and chose to not wear swords anymore. And this kind of resulted in, you know, their fall in a way. They kind of allowed themselves to fall. It's necessary to not allow another person to judge an individual if you're going to survive. Like, I can't let other people's opinions about me motivate my actions and my decisions for why I'm doing something and why I'm not doing something. So that happened with the samurai. And people, a lot of times, I think, in my perspective, is very irrational. That when someone sees my face, that somehow, like my uncovered face, if I were to remove this, that somehow gives them power over me, power to stop me from doing whatever I do. Well, if I know his face, then I can call the cops if he does anything wrong, because I'm afraid. What? With or without this mask, I can assault you. With or without this mask, I can go steal from you. And judging me based on this appearance does not say, per se, whether or not I am a good or a bad person. A lot of people are very surprised oftentimes to find that I'm charming, I'm kind, I'm compassionate when they actually overcome their fear to interact with me. Now, I'm dressed in chains and black, so how does that make any sense? Well, appearances can be deceiving. That's what it is, okay? You can't judge a person based on their appearance. This is the equivalent of judging someone racially. Okay, you can judge a black person and say, oh, well, they're black, so they must be more prone to crime. For the black people who are watching this video right now, let me ask you, if someone judged you according to that, you would be irate, you would be pissed off, right? Yeah, because you don't deserve that. You deserve to be thought of as a noble individual. Just like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, I have a dream where my children will be judged by the content of their character, not on the color of their skin. And that's the same thing that I'm doing right now. This persona has been oppressed. Even though there are no anti-mask laws within the United States, which is defended by our First Amendment rights, at least so far, I actually had a cop come up to me and lie to me and tell me that there was an anti-mask law in Nashville, Tennessee, because he was so afraid and wouldn't admit it that I was covering up my face, and he wanted to stop it. That he lied. He crossed his own authority. He betrayed his own authority and lied and said that there was a law that didn't exist. That is corruption of the law. That's corruption of justice. If we're talking about ourselves as human beings that administer justice, that's corruption of justice. Another thing that doesn't really make sense to me in terms of humanly administered justice, to somewhat contradict my statement just made just now, is this concept in psychology. You know, all of us are psychological beings. This concept in psychology where we have something called motivated reasoning, or in other words, we have the right to believe what we want. And furthermore, you can't convince someone with facts alone, because you're going to choose to believe what you want anyway, even in light of those facts. Your brain just overrides the facts entirely and is like, well, I want to believe this, so I'm going to. That happens with every single one of us. You have to be very open-minded to try to overcome that, and even then it's probably not a perfect process. However, I don't understand how some of these judges, literal judges, okay, within the criminal justice system, you get arrested, you go to court, you go stand before a judge, okay, that kind of judge, they are motivated to believe that certain things are right or wrong, depending on whether or not they think it's the norm, okay? In my mind, in my perspective, normalcy, the pursuit of normalcy, is one of the biggest atrocities on the face of the planet and causes mass violence to everybody. We're all trying to conform to each other. That's nonsense. You know, like our differences, our uniqueness should be cause for celebration, not something to try to oppress within each other. One, such as myself or other public figures that I'm aware of, that I've actually heard say these things almost verbatim, should not have to feel pain for their own uniqueness. I should not have to suffer for being a unique being, and I shouldn't have to try to oppress myself and cause myself further pain in order to be unique. That's nonsense, okay? So, personas. You be you, okay? I'm being me at any cost. We'll see what that amounts to in the future. So far, I'm doing pretty good, and I think that this grand force that has the universe in control somehow or another, whether you call it, the law of attraction, whether you call it the universe, whether you call it God, or whether you call it love, it's working for me. Here I am, still surviving, still breathing, and I have been through hell. I'll talk to you about that some other time. This has been Kev from 7, www.gofundme.com/SEVYN. Have a nice day, guys. Love you. Peace. Bye.